What's up, people? This is S. Foster of the 28 Minutes or Less podcast. And on this episode, man, the subject matter is this is going to be part two of the music podcast that we had. Got the same guest back, got ScootzBronsen back on with me, got the homie Casey back on with me. And this time we're doing the 90s up to current, man. So before we get there, man, how y'all fellas feeling, man? Start with Casey, man. How you feeling today, man?
Man, I'm feeling fantastic. I signed on my new house Friday at 12 o'clock. I've been busting my ass moving ever since. And I'm still moving right before I started this, and I'm moving after I get done. So everything. Hope y'all are good.
Man, congratulations on that, man. I told you the other day, but
congratulations.
Thank you.
That is a big step, man. I'm happy for you. Nothing but love, man. How about you, Scoots?
Right now, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm kind of in the turmoil. You know what I'm saying? I'm jittery right now, nerves a little bit shaky. Been having a great week up until right now. A little couple minutes before the game pop off. I just want my guys to bring it home. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, man, I'm living life, man.
And what team is that?
The Cleveland Browns, dog time. You know what I'm saying? We in here, man. We in here.
Hell yeah, man. Hey, man, first and foremost, man, I appreciate y'all jumping on with me, man. Oh, if I haven't mentioned, this is episode 32 of the podcast. And I just want to say, man, I usually don't do this, but this podcast will be coming out on my birthday. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to be dropping this in the morning. And I'm saying I had a great birthday weekend. Went up to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. You know what I'm saying? My girl got a cabin up there. Well, she don't have a cabin. She rented a cabin up there. Let me rephrase that.
Okay.
Let me rephrase that. So, man, we had a good, fun time, man. I ended up doing some shit. Now, I know y'all probably think this shit is corny. But, man, they got this whole, reenactment of, not reenactment, but, they built, this whole thing. That shit looked like the Titanic. I don't know if y'all seen that.
I've seen that.
Yeah,
I
you
seen
that
you posted. That shit was fire. I like that upside down house, too. That shit was nice.
That shit was hard, man. I learned some shit that I didn't know about the Titanic. It was. So check this out. I know this is just one of those crazy random facts, but because I'm you go through it, it's like a museum basically, and it's it got some stuff that's made just like the Titanic was. It got all these pictures of the crew members, the pictures of the known pictures of people that was on the plane. They broke it down to first class, all the way down to third class, all that stuff, right? So. Did y'all know that there was one black person that was on the Titanic?
Yep.
One black person. And he had two mixed kids. Yeah. And he was of Haitian descent, but he was staying in French, I believe.
Yep.
And he couldn't find, he had a degree in engineering. Couldn't find a job.
He was a servant.
No. He went on, he was just a passenger, just coming to America. Because he couldn't find work as an engineer in France. And but he didn't make it here, but his two kids did.
Nice.
I think his wife and his two kids did. I was like, dude, but that's crazy. That is so crazy. But it was just cool going in there. We went through this upside down house thing. And that shit was fire, man. So man, we had a real good time. And then I will tell y'all this, if y'all ever go to Pigeon Forge, there is a place called Blue Moose Burgers and Wings. Fire, dude. I'm telling you, it was great.
Check that out,
dude. Then they had these what you call that shit? Motherfucking. It was this dip. It was a pulled pork dip for appetizers. But flames, Scoots, 5 fire flames, my guy.
Oh yeah.
That shit was hard. But man, since we got
let me comment on that Titanic. All right, so you need to check out a song by Blind Willie Johnson. All right, and the song is called "God Moves on the Water." All right, and he's talking about the Titanic. Man, if that don't hit your soul, something's wrong with you. All right, I'm good.
Now you straight, man. Hey, speak freely, man. That's what this podcast is for, man. We were just talking earlier before we started recording, man, we're a team. You know what I'm saying? The three of us, We worked together on a lot of shit. So anything you got to say, man, it's all cool. I just wanted to mention that, man. I was just, just had a good weekend. And, I'm a type person, I don't really celebrate my birthday and shit like that. So it was just fun. You know what I'm saying? That somebody took out the time to put together this trip, plan all of this shit. So that was really cool. So shout out to April. Appreciate all that.
Definitely.
So, man, took us a minute to get to it, dude. I did not realize how much, like, when it comes down to my music library, I didn't realize how much 90s people I got in this shit. Because the way I go off of it is like when their first album came out, right? So, like, for instance, right, Lil Wayne dropped in my 90s because The Block is Hot came out in 99. So that's how, yeah. I've always tell people that was my first rap album that I bought when I was in the 8th grade. That's the very first rap album I bought.
That was a good album.
Yeah, so it just amazed me like how much people like music that touched me. And like the people, I can't do everybody, but like the people that really stood out to me, man, like I think I made this very obvious. Like when it comes down, because I'm gonna start like a little R&B first. Like when it comes down to like Mint Condition, when it comes down to like Jodeci, John B, Erykah Badu, especially Erykah Badu, like there's so many people, and like you see, it was mostly like and this is the thing about the 90s. Like when I get to looking at it, there was more groups back then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you think about the Wu-Tang Clan, when you think about Silk, you know what I'm saying, the Roots, 3 6 Mafia, UGK, Outkast, Total, fucking Escape. Like there was so many groups back then, and then that shit really started dying after that. But when I really look at it, it just amazes me how many people, look, Cypress Hill, just how many people that was in the 90s, dude. And it's so wild, man. I don't even know what to say because like it's so, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Bill Bev DeVoe, because they didn't form the group until the 90s because it was, what I'm saying, after the whole little Bobby Brown doing his own thing, Johnny Gill doing his own thing. So they were just like, well, shit, we the 3 dudes left. Ralph went solo. So they're like, we the 3 dudes left. So we'll just form a group, you know what I'm saying, that was left over. And damn, 8-Ball MJG. The shit is crazy. But this is what I want to talk about. We can't talk 90s, right? And then I'll let y'all get y'all shit off. We can't talk 90s without talking Biggie and Tupac, right? I'm going to say this. And this is going to be, I've always had the unpopular opinion on this. They're not in my top 5. I'm sorry. They're not in my top 5. Neither one of them. They're not.
How?
Yeah, really, they ain't either in mine either.
What?
Yeah, seriously.
This is blasphemous.
Not what I listen to.
Man, listen. I never like. Don't get me wrong. They got good music. You know what I'm saying? Like Biggie, really, he honestly only got 2 albums. If you're being real, if you want to say 3 because the last one was a double disc.
2.
Okay.
2.
So really, he only got 2 albums. And I listen. Now the crazy part is when we're talking about flow and all that type of stuff, I really prefer Biggie over Tupac.
100%.
But Tupac was more, I think his music touched people more than Biggie. Mm-hmm. But it was just, I don't know, man. It's like how much I really like listen to those 2 guys. It's not often, man. It's not often.
Mine was a time and place for both of those. I like Ready to Die from Biggie more than his other stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on Life After Death, but still some filler too. But I never really thought about really comparing them. I know everybody else, tries to, but I listen to them for different things, and I listen to them in slightly different times of my life. But Tupac was definitely more of the ride out music. When I was 15 to 17 out there getting into all kind of stuff, just Tupac made me feel more like doing that type of stuff and enjoying it while I was doing it. Biggie more for me was sitting around listening to, and when I was younger, I didn't even really think about flow, or I wasn't really breaking down lyricists like that. I was just trying to go off what I liked, and you know more of the combination of music and the lyrics. And I had more friends that listened to Tupac that I was around, so I usually listened to that more. And back then, when I was younger, I didn't spend my money on music, so I usually was listening to what everybody else was listening to. And my buddy, the main guy I listened to, rode with everywhere. He had more Tupac stuff, or he didn't even have Biggie stuff. I actually only listened to Ready to Die when I got my brother's CD, and surprised he didn't, you know, uh, get after me for taking it. But anyways, yeah. So just as far as Tupac and Biggie, now after I say after '99, I have only listened to Tupac. I don't even have it on my Napster. I don't have Tupac or uh Biggie on my Napster. Out of all my music I got downloaded. Now I've got all those songs forever engraved in my brain, and I just hadn't. I think I just associated with that time period so much when I was riding around, getting into all kind of stuff, that it's hard to listen to it outside of that. It's like now I could say Aquemini is like that too, but it's not really. It's kind of timeless to me. I think
Fact.
that I could play that anytime, anywhere, at any moment in my life, and I'm gonna rock to it. I don't. That's. But what was I gonna say more about Tupac and Biggie? All right, I'm gonna let that go and let y'all go on that. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Um, for me, I totally get when you say you don't compare Tupac and Biggie. To me, Tupac was he was more so a poet than he was a rapper. You know what I mean? Like he had a tremendous impact on not just hip hop, but you know what I'm saying, pop culture. Biggie was, to me, he was more the rapper. He had a wider skill set than Tupac had. And Biggie was one of the best storytellers in hip hop ever. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, I think that was his strength. That's why he was so heralded as one of the greats, because he could take he could take a song and really make you visualize it. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody goes back to the song where he was supposedly or allegedly talking about robbing Chris Childs, or a Knicks player at the time. You know what I'm saying? Like he just had that skill set of being one of those guys. He had a great flow. You know what I'm saying? For him to only have 2 albums, and for him to have, you know what I'm saying, the impact that he had was already amazing. So that's why it amazes me anytime somebody says, they don't have either one of them in their top 5. But for me, the '90s was the golden era of not just hip hop, but for me, just music. We seen so many different changes in music. We seen so many different changes in different genres. Like we seen the rise of Britney Spears. We seen the rise of female pop singers. We seen the rise of boy bands. You know what I'm saying? We got Vanilla Ice, who I think he's still the highest selling rap artist of all time. Um, Going diamond with a single.
That's
You
crazy.
know what I'm saying? Yeah, we got MC Hammer, who at the time was actually putting the West Coast on, when the West Coast really didn't have, you know what I'm saying, that look that they wanted to have. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have that, or not the look, but they didn't have that pop look. You know what I'm saying? MC Hammer was actually probably one of the biggest rap artists of all time ever. You know what I'm saying? MC Hammer was in movies. He was in commercials. Um, he was in excuse me. He was in TV shows. Like this dude he was the man. Like this was the dude that you wanted to, you know what I'm saying? This is the dude that you wanted to be. in the 90s. We seen the rise of conscious rap. You know what I'm saying? We had groups like the Tribe Called Quest. We had groups like De La Soul. We had the Jungle Brothers. We even had them all come up into a collective and form the native tongue. You know what I'm saying? Like we also seen the expansion of gangster rap. You know what I'm saying? It went from NWA to Tupac to the
Ice-T.
Dog Pound. Yeah, Ice Cube. You know what I'm saying? We seen the West Coast rise up out of this. And what a lot of people don't talk about is at this time, this is actually not just the rise of the West Coast. This is actually the rise of Atlanta being the new spot of hip hop. With guys like Jermaine Dupri, Jonte Austin, and so many other people. Like, I mean, not Jonte Austin, I'm sorry, Dallas Austin. You get so many of these groups and so many of these people that's coming out of Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? You get TLC, who they're not probably from Atlanta, but they technically are coming out of Atlanta. You get Chris Cross coming out of Atlanta. You get the whole So Def regime coming out of Atlanta. You get the Good Mob. You get Outkast. You get the Dungeon Family label. You know what I'm saying? Like this is the time where Atlanta is really making its footprint in music. And then you also get the rise of hip hop magazines. This is where the Source comes in. This is where Double XL comes in. We had traditional magazines like Ebony and Jet and the Rolling Stones and the I forgot what the other one is, but you know, you used to have like Word Up and you know what I'm saying, magazines like that. But now we got actual hip hop magazines to where, you know what I'm saying, like you getting the ratings with the 5 mics. Everybody wanted 5 mics, you know what I'm saying, in the 90s. You got DMX and the Rough Riders. It's so many, you know what I'm saying, like it's so many different pieces. For me, it's more so hip hop because to me, I feel like this is where hip hop started taking over to become the #1 genre. You know what I'm saying? They came out from the 80s as this fresh, brand new style of music that people really didn't get a chance to, you know what I'm saying? Well, people was actually trying to take advantage of, but they really couldn't because it was so natural to the creators of it that you really couldn't duplicate it. And even if you did duplicate it, it didn't sound the way that they made it sound. And you know what I'm saying? Like it was already said that it wasn't even going to be a genre in 10 years. And then this is where it started to take over. This is where it started affecting everything. This is where it started to become commercialized to a point to where this is going to be immortalized. It started to take over rock and roll music. In a sense, it really started to become, in a way, pop music. Without, you know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for Britney Spears, the Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, Christina Aguilera, Pink, Kid Rock, Fred Durst, and all them, we probably wouldn't even have pop right now because in a way they kind of incorporated some hip hop things into pop to make pop kind of last a little bit longer and to keep that genre going. So
Yeah,
that's just where I'm at right now.
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. Like both of y'all made like a lot of points. But like I wanted to get into 2 things, like well actually 3. So one, like I said, I've always told y'all I was a huge R&B head. You know what I'm saying, growing up. And 90s is really what shaped a lot of the music that I listen to now. Like, you know, when I think about people like, you know what I'm saying, Aaliyah, when I think about Brandy, you know, Color Me Bad, but it was more of a fast, you know what I'm saying, type music. Like it wasn't as slow as stuff like,
Great
you know,
group.
D'Angelo, fucking Deborah Cox came out. Drew Hill was my shit. I used to be on Drew Hill real hard. Like I mentioned, Erykah Badu, Faith Evans, H-Town. Like these are a lot of people that, you know, Tevin Campbell. People don't realize Tevin Campbell was a legend in the 90s. Like that dude had a lot of hits back then.
He was
like
a heartthrob.
Yeah, man. And like that, yeah, that's another thing. Like he was, you know, a dude that, you know, people Usher came out in 96 with My Way.
Out of Atlanta.
Yeah. So yeah, out of Atlanta. So like Maya, she came out in the 80s. I mean in the 90s. And like, you know, next Tony I had the hugest crush on Toni Braxton back in the day, boy. When she was on the album cover, with that white shirt on, them blue jeans, the short haircut. But I just stare at that album cover all the time. But then like you mentioned a good point of like when you think about the South, because not even just Atlanta, you got to start thinking about down in Louisiana when Master P came up. And Master P brought into the game. He introduced us into one of my favorite, other than Rhapsody, like my favorite female artist is Mia X. Mia X was a straight spitter, dude.
That's the first time I ever heard anybody say their favorite female artist is Mia X. No doubt she was a spitter though, but that's the first time I ever heard anybody say that.
I just posted some. Hey, look at my Instagram story. I just posted a Mia X song today, as a matter of fact. But like he introduced us to Mia X, BG, Mystical. You know what I'm saying? Fiend. Y'all know the whole lineup that they had down in No Limit. And then you go over to Memphis with 3 6 Mafia and Project Pat. Like Project Pat don't get his due. Like Project Pat, he got one of my all-time favorite songs, man. That I don't never hear nobody talking to. Don't Turn Around. Y'all need to check out that song. Don't Turn Around is all time. It's basically a story. He tells a story about robbing somebody. That's all it is. Just another robbery story. But my thing, and Juvenile. I can't go without saying Juvenile. So my big story about the 90s. I was at a concert that I did not supposed to be at. So my sister's 7 years older than me, right? So we went to I forget what they called that tour, but they came to the Balo Center. Casey, I know you know about the Balo Center. Yep. And so it was, the headliners was Jay-Z, DMX, right? And then the roster that came with them was Method Man and Redman. This is when they was doing their thing together, because you remember Method Man, he came out with that one season.
Are you talking about the Hard Knock Life tour?
Yep.
Yes. Memphis Bleak was there. Emilion was there. Well, really his whole little thing there, but dude, but people gotta remember this was 98. At the time, DMX was bigger than Jay-Z. People forget that. He was the person that performed last at that show. And it was so funny because like they had the stage was, like a rectangle shape, and then it was like, I'm saying, like a little section in the middle, and then it went out. And so there was a little whole section. And DMX was performing and fell down in the hole. And they had to go down, the security had to go down there and pick him up and put him back on stage because he fell through the hole. And then like the other thing about that show that stood out that I thought was funny was Redman and Method Man was like, they had these strings and they was like hanging from the ceiling and they was going into the crowd.
Yeah, from the rafters.
Yeah, and then somebody reached up and pulled Method Man's shoe off. So they get back, they pull him back to stage, and Method Man like looked down at the crowd like, yo, he was like, pass me my shoe, and the person went past the shoe. So he said, yo, boy, if you don't pass my motherfucking shoe, so they had to throw his shoe back on stage. And then the last thing I mentioned about that show was like, so when Meth and Red was up there, they had some blunts on stage, and they told everybody, like, whoever got a blunt, a joint, pull that shit out, light it up, dude. Everybody. Next thing you know, the whole bottle center was smoked out, and I'm like 13 years old, up in there, not even supposed to be in there. But like, dude, that was the very first concert I ever been to. That was the Hard Knock Life tour. That was I'm glad you remember the name of that. But like, that was my
backstage, man. You gotta watch backstage. You might actually see that happen on backstage.
Yeah. The crazy thing is, I was at that exact same concert, and somebody passed me a blunt. Did I hit it? Yep, I was at that exact same concert. It was great.
That's crazy. Yeah, you had told me that. That was so wild. And man, look, me and Casey could have met back in '98, man. You know what I'm saying? Crazy. But I was a youngster though, man. I was a youngster then, but that was a fun show, man. But there was so many people, man, in the '90s, man. I haven't even mentioned everybody. Like Ice Cube went solo. You know what I'm saying? Like there were just so many people. Twister. I mean, even when you go into Nickelback and Train, like they came out in the '90s. It was just so many people. And like I mentioned Wu-Tang Clan. y'all already know. I told both of y'all how I feel about Wu-Tang Clan. Raekwon is my favorite member of the Wu-Tang Clan. Like, to me, he just got this different voice. His flow is just different from everybody else. It's like he just stands out. And it's like anytime you listen to like either Cream or It's Yours or what's my other Triumph, like it's just his verse. Like, don't get me wrong, like I think who had started at Triumph? Wasn't it Inspector Deck? Was that him that started Triumph?
It was either Inspector Deck or Capadonna.
It might have been Capadonna.
Everybody
Like,
forgot about Capadonna.
that was hard, but it just I don't know, man. I just now even though Meth is a bigger act, but like for me, my top three is Raekwon, Meth, and Ghostface. Those are my top three in Wu-Tang Clan. But like you mentioned with the South, man, I'm not even gonna get started on Outkast. Like everybody know how I feel about Outkast. Outkast is my favorite rap group of all time. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm biased because I'm in the South, maybe so. But Outkast just came out the gate with it, man, and they took over the world. Y'all know how I feel about Andre 3000. I don't care if he don't have a solo album. He is in my top three of rappers
He had
of
the
all
love.
time. Yeah, but it still, yeah. I mean, some people don't count that, but then he didn't really
The
rap
Love
on that
Below
either.
is an R&B album.
Yeah, it's an R&B album. Like my favorite song is Prototype. He's not rapping at all on Prototype.
Oh no,
So
Pink and Blue is the best song on that motherfucking album.
that was nice. That was nice. But don't forget about Roses now. Roses was shit.
Roses was good. Happy Valentine's Day was good.
I keep getting the songs mixed up between Idlewild. I'm trying to play some. I got 2 copies of that record because I used to do doubles on my turntables of those records. I'd have the same record on both turntables and try and bring back the beat, beat juggle it. And but yeah, when I think of Love Below, it gets me mixed up with Idlewild because I keep thinking of Chronometrophobia, just because some of the vibes on the other ones.
But I think She Lives in My Lap was on both albums. Because he performed She Lives in My Lap in Idlewild. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, She Lives in My Lap was on the Love Below as well.
That makes sense. I can't verify, but that sounds right to me.
Yeah, it might
be part of it.
It might have been. It might have been. But do you have, Casey, any more on like even like I remember because like I mentioned, because I always try to tell people, man, I try to be a wide spectrum of things. Like I mentioned Train, I mentioned Nickelback, you know what I'm saying? I was a fan of Alanis Morissette as well. Like so, and a lot of that really came from just MTV and VH1. You know what I'm saying? That's why I was introduced to like people like Train and Nickelback and Alanis Morissette and shit like that. That was just from watching those channels. But and I forgot, while I'm on that subject, another thing that the 90s brought us, because Scoots, you made a good point about bringing up the magazines. This was when we get The Basement. You know what I'm saying? With Big Tigger.
Yep.
And then that's when rappers came in and started freestyling in the booth. Yep. And like, we didn't get that from Yo MTV Raps.
We get 106 in Park. We get TRL.
What did some of that come out in the 2000s though?
No, TRL came out in the 90s.
Yeah, that had to be.
TRL and 106 in Park came out in the 90s.
Oh, okay. Dang, I didn't know 106 in Park had that long of a run.
Hell yeah, because before it was I forgot who it was, but before AJ and Free, it was 2 other people.
It was my man that played Zach in Power Rangers.
Yep.
Yeah, he was on there. He was the first dude. I remember they used to put the memes up about him, like when memes became a thing.
Yep.
But yeah, before we move on, do y'all fellas got any more facts or anything else that y'all want to mention, like from the 90s?
Well, I was just gonna say, kind of like before, like my whole experience with the 90s was like early '90s, I had to ride with my brother to school, and I did watch MTV. So I pretty much had to watch whatever he was watching. So we was watching all the rock bands. Like there was still barely some hair bands. Them was ending, but then you got into Metallica and Alice in Chains and Megadeth uh, and then a little bit further on you got into Rage Against the Machine, which I really gravitated toward them. I had that first album, and man, I used to play that all the time. And then you got Tool. Tool was a uh, similar to Rage Against the Machine in that vein, I think, and got on that some. But a lot of those earlier years, I just had to listen to what my brother did, and I didn't watch too much TV. Um, let's say mid '90s, because then I started hanging out with my friends, and that was where I had to listen, like I said, listen to what they had. But then I did get me Method Man, Redman, everything that they came out with. I started really Redman was my favorite, because the Muddy Waters album, that was like, I mean, that was my favorite album until I heard Outkast. I used to play that everywhere, and nobody was feeling it, but that with Redman was my shit. And then I went back and got the first two albums, what the album and There's a Dark Side. I just liked his flow, the music, the everything. And so of course when I got, I think the first tape, it was actually cassette that really got me into uh Wu Tang, might have been the Redman Wu Tang album, Whatever Man. Y'all remember that? You ready to light this shit up? Whatever Man.
Yep.
You know, that shit was hot. So then I was like, I started checking out Wu Tang, and then hell, to Enter the 36 Chambers, man. Then that shit was my favorite. So I always, if I could, I always had the Redman Muddy Waters. I always had 36 Chambers, and then from 36 Chambers, I went to Jizza Liquid Swords. So like that was my second favorite Wu Tang album, and then I started branching out from there and getting into Sons of Man and Killer Priest and then of course all the RZA joints, even the Grave Diggers. Uh, that shit was great. And then the Bobby Digital, and so I was a big RZA fan. So RZA was definitely my favorite out of the Wu Tang. Uh, um, RZA and the Jizzle was my favorite. Then Old Dirty Bastard. Then uh, Method Man, and um, so yeah, them was my top three as far as Wu Tang. And then the other rap I used to listen to, I started getting into Gangstar, and then I started getting into Talib Kweli and Mos Def, and I ran across Digital Underground when I watched this movie Nothing But Trouble, and realized that realized Tupac was with Digital Underground. I was like, oh shit. So then I had to check out everything Digital Underground did, and I'm they're they're probably they're just outside of my top five, just because Parliament Funkadelic kind of like with their album Sons of the P, they almost kind of introduced them as the second version, you know what I mean, like to pass the torch. Parliament Funkadelic was like almost passing the torch to Digital Underground, and then some of that got me into some of that West Coast stuff like Too Short and some of that. And another thing, when I was riding around with my brother, um, he was in the Two Live Crew, because back then everybody was building their own subwoofers, they was building their own boxes, they was building their own systems, customizing the lowriders. He had a two different drop Chevys, S10 and a custom. And so like he would listen to a lot of the stuff coming out of Miami, like DJ Magic Mike, I think was one. And everything was bass, man. I mean, just rattling all the time. So it was cool that my brother opened me up to that culture, along with Metallica and all the heavy stuff. So that was really cool. Um, but then on into I never listened to R&B. I never could get on it. Now I did like Genuine. Genuine was good. So I rock with that. And now some of the older, my R&B was really oldies. Like I came so strong from oldies that with a lot of the blues mixed in, and then of course the oldies, the Temptations, that, and then on up into the 70s, some of that R&B. So I was really more stuck to that as far as a version of R&B. I didn't get into. I was like one of the only ones of my friends that never even got into that. So I can't tell you really nothing about R&B. Now, of course, I listened to Boys the Men and Belle Biv DeVoe. That was Poison, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I like those. I like those jams, but I never would look that out. I would never buy if I had an opportunity to buy R&B. I would not buy it. It would always be hip hop. So then, right at the end of '90s, I started to get into some electronic music. So you got like Fatboy Slim, you got Moby, you got Chemical Brothers, Jungle Brothers. Jungle Brothers, like I said, man, Jungle Brothers started getting into some of that, and man, they was really pioneering a new sound. They was
Yep.
incorporating a lot of stuff that was in New York, because they had a lot of people coming over. They was making these new clubs. People was DJing like really hard, different styles up there. And so like in '99, when I got out of high school, I went to the first electronic dance party I ever went to. And that started getting me more into electronic music. So that's pretty much how I'm gonna start my 2000s. And like when I didn't, excuse me, when I wasn't starting to search that out, then I always had oh, hold up. Okay, so Outkast was at really I didn't get into Outkast until about 97. But once I did, those are I would keep those CDs. I would keep Southern Playlistic, Cadillac Funky Music, ATLNs always on me. Those are the CDs that everybody stole, and I would have to buy them. Like, you were not getting those CDs back if somebody took those CDs from you.
Exactly.
But they were always in my arsenal. If I didn't have anything else to play, I usually had that Wu-Tang Inner 36 Chambers and the first two Outkast, if nothing else, and Muddy Waters. But so yeah, there we go with my number. Thank you.
All right, so Scoots, hey, you lost some service there, man. I was just saying anything else that you got on the 90s. That's what Casey Rant was.
Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
my ramble.
That was a good one too. He named some classics in that thing, man. But I more so just want to not necessarily talk about the music, but I just want to talk about some of the pioneers in music. You got Uncle Luke, who,
Yeah.
what I'm saying, Casey brought up Florida and Miami. If it wasn't for Uncle Luke, what I'm saying, we probably wouldn't even be able to still cussing music. You know what I'm saying? He was sitting in front of Congress, fighting to be able to get, what I'm saying, that First Amendment, what I'm saying, to be able to, what I'm saying, make sure we could say whatever we wanted to say and not have censories. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have the parental advisory stickers.
Hell yeah.
Also, we probably wouldn't even have the 808 if it wasn't for Uncle Luke, because he kind of helped usher in that Florida bass music. And without Florida bass, you know what I'm saying, you might not even get trap music. We talk about Master P, but we also got to talk about Jay Prince. Jay Prince ran Rap-A-Lot, one of the first independent, record labels in music history. You know what I'm saying? He was able to put on a lot of different people. Actually, Master P got a lot of his game from Jay Prince. You know what I'm saying? If it wasn't for Jay Prince and a couple people on the West Coast, you know what I'm saying, we might not have even had No Limit. And then, you know what I'm saying, of course, Master P, man, he changed the game. He showed us just how profitable hip hop can be. Just how profitable a rap artist could be. From creating his own movies to, you know what I'm saying, he had cell phones and beepers. He had his own shoe. He played in the NBA. And then you got guys on the West Coast like Too Short, who, you know what I'm saying, he was one of the first hustlers to be able to sell all his music out of the trunk of his car. And you know what I'm saying, he was, who knows, he probably was platinum doing that. But but we got, you know, so like we got so many different people doing so many different things. You know, DJ Jazzy Jeff, he's the creator of Neo Soul. You got Michael Bivins, who created the sound that, you know, Boys the Men and I'm about to say BBD, Boys the Men, ABC. Who else was in that? Is Boys the Men, ABC, Belle Biv DeVoe. It's a female
Raphael,
singing group. Who?
Tony Tone, who did that?
Tony Tone. He. I don't know if he's responsible for them, but that sound, that sound all come from Michael Bivins. If it's not for Michael Bivins, we don't even get Boys the Men. We don't get Another Bad Creation. You'll never hear 4 Little Kids sing about Aisha. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many people that, you know what I'm saying, that really, this is why I always call the 90s the golden era of music, because there's so many people that changed the landscape of music, and they did so many different things. Like, you get Insane Clown Posse with Juggalo movement. You get you get Fred Durst and Kid Rock, you know, they doing their thing. And then how can we forget, you get Eminem, you know what I'm saying, one of the most prominent hip hop artists of all time. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a guy who, he came in at a time where there were really no white rappers. White rappers was laughed at. And then, you know, he comes in and he really changes the game, because he's not trying to imitate, you know, gangster rap, or he's not trying to imitate conscious rap. He's really being himself in everything that he does. And even though, you know, he might not have had you know, saying the backing of certain people at the time, he still was selling records. He still was making shit happen. And then on top of that, he was going at it with, you know what I'm saying, he was actually, you know what I'm saying, shitting on the pop genre as he was doing it. You know what I'm saying? And this is a guy who does his, you know what I'm saying, does his work. You know what I'm saying? We also get Busta Rhymes. You know what I'm saying? One of the best hip hop artists of all time.
Leaders of the New School.
Yup, came out of Leaders of the New School and ended up getting a solo career. Even though they were in the 80s. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, and I was saying, he was saying that he was brought on by Chuck D. So like that's a whole nother, like a whole nother pioneer.
You beat me to it, because that's the next thing I was about to say. Even though they came out the 80s, you know what I'm saying, Public Enemy had a huge prominence in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Chuck D did a lot for, you know what I'm saying, the artists. If it wasn't for Chuck D, you know what I'm saying, A Tribe Called Quest and De La Soul and all those guys probably wouldn't even be doing what they doing now, because Chuck D really helped out a lot of those guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, we really get a huge culture coming out of the 90s with music. You know what I'm saying? We get a lot of creativity coming out of the 90s with music. And I think, once again, like I say, you know what I'm saying, it's the golden era of music.
I think touched on it before, and we even touched on it when we were talking in the last podcast we did, when we were talking about the strength of these groups, how music was had you know, a lot of more really influential musicians had bands, they had groups, they had, you know, they had a support system, they had a lot of people that was encouraging in them and stuff. So like in the 90s, people still had respect for that. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of bands. Like, even with, like what you were saying, even with the hip hop, they were bands. Even with the R&B, they were pretty much bands. You know, nobody was solo. So yeah, cool. Yeah, and I think I talked about Rage Against the Machine, but I'm pretty sure I know Chuck D had a big part to do with that too.
Yep.
But go ahead.
And don't forget, this is the first time that artists is actually getting sub labels. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had independence from Rockefeller, and they ended up creating, you know what I'm saying, the Diplomats. They ended up creating State Property. DMX had I'm sorry, not DMX, but the Rough Riders.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They had sub labels. Who was it? Aftermath ended up coming up with Dr. Dre, and you know what I'm saying, got Slim Shady. Next thing you know, Shady Records pops up. Next thing you know, you get 50 Cent. Now you got G Unit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a bunch of groups that ended up getting sub labels that ended up giving us a lot of great artists.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, y'all transition just did pretty well because like some of these people didn't come into the 2000s.
Yeah,
So that transition really did really well there. But y'all know me, sorry Casey, but you know what I'm saying, when it comes to the 2000s, like for me, like I said, I'm still an R&B dude at this time. You know what I'm saying? I haven't made my full transition yet. You know what I'm saying? Into the rap game, because like I said, the first rap album was Lil Wayne, Block is Hot, and then I get into Outkast and DMX and all these type of people. But then I get people like, I get Kim, I get Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake, he separated himself from NSYNC. So his first album come out in 2000. I get Joss Stone. Joss Stone, if you listen to her music, she's really, I didn't know Joss Stone was white. This was one of those
I could tell.
This was one of those. What do you got? Hey, I know what you mean by that. I know what you mean by that. But I didn't know until I like actually seen her, because her voice is so soulful. She was more like if I had to compare her to somebody, now she ain't got her now. I'm just saying, if I had to compare her to somebody, it would be my girl Tina Marie. But John Legend come out in 2000. Then you get my girl, one of my favorites. You get Jill Scott. Now, if anybody listened to my top 10 R&B artists of all time, Jill Scott was my number 2 of all time. I love Jill Scott. Jill Scott put out some of the greatest music ever. Jeremiah come out in the 2000s. Jasmine Sullivan, Glenn Lewis, Floetry. You get Lloyd, and one of my favorite who made number 1 on my list. And y'all know how I feel about this guy, Music Soul Child. Music Soul Child came out in the 2000s. And to me, he just revolutionized everything for me. Neo come out in the 2000s. Omarion gets his first solo album when he breaks away from, what was that group called? B4L or whatever the hell it was called. Raheem Devine, Rihanna. We finally introduced to Rihanna in the 2000s. Robin Thicke. You know, The Dream, Trey Songz, Vivica Green, like Chrisette Michelle. Chris Brown came out in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? Beyonce not 90s, in the 2000s. Beyonce goes solo in the 2000s. You know what I'm saying? So Beyonce just blew the whole game up when she went solo. Even though Destiny Child had some hits. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna sit here and act like Destiny Child wasn't no successful group. But when she broke solo, it just broke down the barriers. Beyonce might have been the one who fucked up everything for everybody. I think Beyonce was probably the one who was like, hey, fuck a group. Because you got to think about it. Look at it this way. Look at the names that I mentioned. Beyonce was in the group. Justin Timberlake was in the group. Omarion was in the group. Like, when they broke away, like, motherfuckers like, why am I going to be in the group? Because you got that lead singer. And it just really kind of, and then the money got different too. That's another reason why the group's really fucked up. But the thing about, and you made a great point, Scoots, when it came to like, you break away from stuff, and you mentioned this one group, the Diplomats. We get the Diplomats, Cameron, Joels, and Jim Jones. We get them in the early 2000s. And then you get that second wave of Atlanta. Remember, there was a second wave of Atlanta. When it comes to Ludacris, Jeezy, Gucci Mane. I don't know if you can really count Norris Barkley, but it got CeeLo in it. I'm just one of those weird guys that like Norris Barkley.
Norris Barkley definitely counts.
Yes.
And then you get people like DJ Drama. You know what I'm saying? You get Lloyd. T.I. But then, this is one of those dudes that was underground. Like, this was one of those situations where you would buy these. You know how they would say, I don't know if they did it up in Ohio, but like these little corner stores would make these mixtapes.
Yeah, we got them at gas stations.
Yeah. And like, this is when I was introduced to Bo Hagen. Now, I know nobody mentions Bo Hagen. Bo Hagen was my guy.
I remember Bo Hagen.
Bo Hagen was my guy, dude. Like, that dude, hey, he had some hits, but he had some hits. I'm telling you, I love Bo Hagen. Bo Hagen, but he was my dude. But then you get the Houston thing. You know what I'm saying? Paul Wall, Chameleon now, Mike Jones. They come up, Frazier Boy.
Ain't the Ghetto Boys from Texas?
They from Houston. That was
Yeah,
that
Ghetto
first
Boys
wave.
is the 80s.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And that was that first wave. Because see, we had these different waves. Because remember I said the second wave of Atlanta.
Yeah.
And see, that was that second wave of Houston, but
that's
they
the third wave of Houston.
Yeah, it was the third wave. It was the third wave. I'm mistaken by that because then DJ Screw, he would have been the second wave.
Third wave. Nope, he'd have been third wave. Cause you still got UGK in them.
That's what I was
That's
about
the
to say.
second
Well,
wave.
yeah, UGK. Yeah, UGK came out in the 90s. But UGK kind of came out around with the Ghetto Boys.
No, UGK came out in the 90s.
True. And then like it was
Scarface went solo in the 90s. That's probably what you're thinking.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking is when he came because his first album was The Diary.
Yep.
So yeah, and like then we introduced to I fell in love with Alicia Keys with the braids. Alicia Keys came out in the 2000s. So the 2000s, dude, was so crazy. And then I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna shut up. One of my favorite rock bands of all time, y'all already know. Evanescence came out in the 2000s, and they blew my mind away. And I gotta tell the story for if I got any new listeners. So I was introduced to the Evanescence from the movie Daredevil. So I'm watching Daredevil, and I'm like, and I think the first time the first song came on was when Elektra was doing her thing when she wanted to kill Daredevil, and she was in that room and she was hitting those bags, and I'm like, what the fuck is that song? And so then I talked to one of my cousins, and my cousin actually knew who they was because my cousin, he was into that type shit too. He was like, man, that's Evanescence. So I'm like, all right, bet. So I had broke up with this girl, right? So I'm free on the market, like 18, 19 years old. And so my sister hooked me up with this girl, little sister, that she worked with. Like my sister worked with this girl, and the girl wanted me to meet her little sister. So I'm like, all right, bet. So before I met the girl, I went to the mall. You know how I went back in the early 2000s, Scoots. I had to go to FYE. You know what I'm saying? I went to FYE. You know what I'm saying? Buy the physical copy. You know what I'm saying? So then I go meet the girl. So I pull up and she get in my car. So we sitting there talking, you know what I'm saying? Learning each other. And then she see my FYE bag. Right? So she goes in there, she pulls out the CD, and she see this white goth girl on the front of the cover. And dude, and this was a black girl.
Yeah.
Ever since she seen that shit, dude, her whole demeanor changed. Like, hey, buddy. And the thing is, I think she was feeling me. She seen that album cover. Man, another one bites the dust.
You know what she was getting into.
Yeah. She was like, nah, man, something wrong with this dude. But yeah, man, but hey, that's when I was introduced to them. Dude, the 2000s is hard, man. The Alchemist finally come out like with his own stuff. Like he was working with people, but then that's when he started releasing his own albums. T-Pain came out in the 2000s. Sean Paul, like people forget, Sean Paul came in the game strong. You know what I'm saying? Joe Budden came out in the 2000s. There's just so much. Lupe Fiasco, fucking Maroon 5, you know, came out in the 2000s. So it's so many people, man, and there's just so much to say about a lot of these people. But I don't know if we still got Casey, but
hey, can y'all hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you.
Okay, yeah, I don't know how to fix it. I've been trying to mess with the buttons, but it's cool as long as y'all hear me.
Yeah, we can
yeah. But Scoots, man, what you feeling about the 2000s, man?
Man, the 2000s was a weird time in music, bro. So like for me, this is kind of where like I kind of spread everything out. Like this is where I branched out into like other stuff. So like for me, I was listening to like Lily Allen from the UK. I was listening to Amy Winehouse. You know, we get Amy Winehouse,
Yeah.
probably one of the best vocalists, you know what I'm saying, we've ever heard. Um, and you know, we also get guys like, you know what I'm saying, West Coast music like the Pack. You know what I'm saying? This is like the start of hyphy music. You know what I'm saying? We get Lil B, and you know what I'm saying, one of the greatest rappers of our time. You know what I'm saying? Little B, the bass guy. Um, but we, you know what I'm saying, like we get so many different styles of, you know what I'm saying, what we had before everything kind of transitions. To me, this is the time where T.I. came out, called himself the King of the South, and you know, people was like, uh, who is this dude calling himself, you know what I'm saying, this? And he actually got, you know what I'm saying, he actually got the approval from Pimp C, you know what I'm saying? And at the time that was huge. We also got guys like Lil Flip. We even had guys like Chameleonaire. You know what I'm saying? Houston was, like you said, Houston and Texas was really doing their thing at the time. And once again, I say this is the time the South kind of puts, you know what I'm saying, like kind of puts their foot in there. Um, and they kind of, in a sense, was riding off the coattails of Outkast. Outkast started doing their thing and started becoming this real prominent team in music. And then, you know, it just start ushering in everybody else. You know what I'm saying? Like Jagged Edge from Atlanta, with them being with So Def and Jermaine Dupri, you get to see, you know what I'm saying, how strong Atlanta really was music wise. Some of the songs that was written for like Mariah Carey, Beyonce, you know what I'm saying, like Alicia Keys, all these people, it was coming out of Atlanta. Atlanta was technically the music hub for the 2000s.
Yeah, I feel you. What you got, Casey? 2000s, baby.
Yeah, so I was still rocking with Outkast in 2000s. I was learning more about electronic music. And so we would go to the all night parties and I'd be listening to all kind of new music that I never heard before. And then we'd go back to the house and talk about it and we'd play Outkast. So still jamming with them. And some of the stuff I started listening to came out of the UK. There was one DJ, DJ Aphrodite, and he would come over actually to Spartanburg and Greenville, right there at the end of '90s, at the very beginning of 2000 for like 2 years. We actually had some really good DJs that came to Greenville, and you know, we would go to the show at like 11 o'clock at night, and we'd stay up till 7. And it was all kinds of influences. But DJ Aphrodite, he was doing awesome. He was doing like a UK garage style, which transformed into jungle, and that incorporated a lot of hip hop. So like he was mixing fast electronic music with a lot of gangster rap and all kind of hip hop. So like that was a really fresh sound. Um, so I started researching more of that, and when I wasn't going to parties, and then I started getting into DJs. So then I started looking up. I looked at the history of it, but at the time, DJ Qbert was still making records, which he was with the famous Invisible Scratch Pickles. And then you got the Crews in New York. You got the Executioners, and then you got I think Rock Raider was one of the main ones. And I was also learning at the same time I was learning about electronic music from United Kingdom. I was also learning about the DJ battle scene. So like that was still going on. There's competition every year called the DMCs, and that was just 2 turntables and a mixer. And you know, most of that is hip hop. Some of them would incorporate a little electronic music, but that really didn't until like mid 2000, at least 2003, yeah, 2005. They didn't really start incorporating too much electronic music. It was basically a bunch of scratching, like amazing scratching skills. So I really and mixing, like I said before, having the doubles, and then they would throw in the cuts. So like the disses. So like they would diss like with a little bit of phrase, then they would show you how good they was with the cuts and the scratches, and then they would diss you with something else. So like you had to put all this material in like 3 minutes. And so check out the Executioners, Rob Swift, um, uh, DJ Qbert, DJ Flair. It goes on and on. D Styles, DJ D Styles, and so while I'm talking about the hip hop part, I'll keep going on that. So you got crews like the Beat Junkies, and they was West Coast, and so like they got rappers on them. I don't know, y'all might have heard of Jurassic 5.
Yeah,
Y'all remember
Jurassic 5,
Jurassic
that joint.
5 came out. Okay, well,
Yep.
see, they kind of part of that culture too. They was more, they had a lot of rap to them, but they had like the scratching and the beats in the back. Well, the Beat Junkies was kind of like that too, with more scratching, and then you had Dilated Peoples, which was
Yep.
very very similar to that, and you had um there's a bunch of different ones.
Black Eyed
But
Peas.
yes, exactly. There you go. There you go. And yeah, another group that was very influential in changing styles, and I mean everybody was following Black Eyed Peas. They was always on their coattails of like, what do we do next? And they was trying to feed off of that. Um, so I was listening, I was going down that path, and it was actually like in 2000, 2001, I got my own turntables, and then I started trying to be a battle DJ, and that also helped me to collect all the records that I had, and of course that helped me learn music too. So during the 2000s, I was learning about all this scratch culture, the history of that, uh, more underground rap, because that usually led into that, like Jay Dilla, getting into that, and similar like
Legendary.
similar like the Alchemist, where he worked with all these underground artists. Like, go ahead, hit it. Come on with it. That's what we forgot. That's really what we forgot in the '90s, was the emergence of all the underground rap culture and the battles and stuff. I almost got into it with Talib Kweli and stuff, and I meant to get there, but I skipped it. But I forgot about it. But I wanted to bring up that point when you were talking about all the influential, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Influential, because that also had to do with those independent labels like you were talking about. But
Mm-hmm.
that really kept getting into that, really fueled the competition, and you started seeing that in the people that did get labels and some radio time. You could tell they were stepping up their game because they knew of all the underground stuff that was going on. All right.
Big time.
Yes,
And
yes,
this is the time of where mixtapes started becoming a big thing
yes,
too. You know what I'm saying? Mixtapes started becoming the new albums in a way. And
yes,
then not only that, you know what I'm saying? You talked about battle rap. This is when we started getting the Smack DVDs, the Coke Boy DVDs, where we started really seeing people actually showcase their skills in hip hop too.
yes, yeah,
Oh yeah. And speaking of those mixtapes, like man, this is back when DJ Clue, not well, DJ Clue. This is when DJ Drummer really got his come up with the Gangsta
Yep.
Grill
yeah,
mixtapes.
yeah,
DJ K
Yep.
Slade, DJ Green Lantern,
yeah,
Yep.
you know what I'm saying? DJ Khaled. Like this is when a
Yep.
lot of those DJs really started to blow up. A lot of artists really, for me, really what changed Lil Wayne is when he did that first Gangsta Grill, not Gangsta Grills, but he did um the dedication. That's when he started those dedication albums.
Oh, it was before that. It was Squad Up. Squad Up changed everything for Lil Wayne.
Squad Up was good, but for me, that very first dedication was what
Yeah.
really, for me, took him to that next level. And especially the song, you know what I'm saying? The dedication. When he came up with an
Mm-hmm.
all-time line, it didn't go with nothing. But he was just like, what my man say? He said, man, I ain't gonna say it because I'm gonna fuck it up, but yeah, that's when, I just wanted to speak on that because I was getting to that DJ point, and when those mixtapes started coming out, and that that introduced me to a lot of different dudes. But sorry to cut you off, Casey.
Oh no, you good. Um, yeah, I can't rock with y'all on the No Limit. I had a couple friends that was on that, but I never. Now I met. They had 400 degrees. I could get with that a little bit, because when people would be coming over to my house and they want to, get a little rowdy, that would always come on, and the girls would jump around to it. So that was good. But I felt like back then, and I was, I was wrong about it, but I felt like I was on a deeper level at that time. You know what I mean? I was digging so deep in different areas that was so surface to me. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't feel it. I had so much other raw. I like the more raw. I mean, some of that was raw, definitely, because the beats was all over the place, and some of that was like it would hit me every now and again, but like even some of Silk the Shocker's stuff, every now and again something would hit me, but most of the time when I heard No Limit, I couldn't rock with it. But except Mystical. Now Mystical was like D1 out of all those. He was my favorite. But let me move on. So 2000. So at the same time, I'm trying to learn battle, doing the DJ battles. I'm trying to, in the basement, fooling with that, trying to learn my craft, learning about underground rap. Same time, I'm learning about all this drum and bass music that is coming from United Kingdom, and it's just what it says. It's like a 174 BPM drums. Is basically the same drum pattern, but there's a lot of little fills in between that keep your mind, that keep you, like you can stay on track, but then you constantly getting sprinkling over the top of all these little extra sounds, so it keeps it interesting. And then the bass is where you got the dubstep movement coming in. Okay, before the dubstep, drum and bass is really where the beginning of those bass tones, the movement of the bass, because that's what that is. It's a LFO, which is on synthesizers, and that's a low frequency oscillator. So what you're doing is you putting a wave in that bass sound. Yeah, yeah. So that's where the dubstep stuff came from. So I'm learning about all this different drum bass, the different styles of that, and I really grow on that. That's one of my favorite styles. So a lot of time with that music, I got a foot in the future. It feels like, and then I always got a foot in the past with the things I listen to. So I'm usually
Yeah.
drifting in between those. But so yeah, so then that's what I keep rocking with, and of course, I really start getting on the internet. I didn't never rock with the computer. When everybody jumped on it in the 90s, I didn't never have no computer. I didn't even rock with a computer until like 2003, probably, when I got my job at Denny's. Like that's really when I started I knew how to use a computer, but I didn't care about it. I was always listening to records or doing hands-on stuff. So then once I got a computer, I really got diving into music. I was able to find more of that the DJ music, more of the electronic music. And then you got, so as far as 2000s, then you got that dubstep movement, and I got into some of that, but it really quickly it became like everybody sounded the same. You know what I mean? You'd have the
Yeah.
squelchy bass, you'd have the same breakdowns, you'd have all that, and I knew where it come from, so I wasn't jumping on the bandwagon. I was like, so anyways, that's about where my 2000 to 2010 went.
Oh, and don't forget, in 2000s we got drill music too.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
yeah, oh yeah. And I also want to mention 2000. This is when LimeWire was the shit, and
Yep.
this is why I was able to even listen to a lot of music. But before we move on, we got to mention. And this is the thing. I know Pharrell was in the late 90s, but he didn't put out his first
Early 90s.
album until the
Early
2000s.
90s.
Yeah, but he didn't do his first album until the 2000s. That's in my
Or
mind.
third.
Yeah, in my mind, it come out till the in the 2000s, and then the Neptunes.
Yeah.
When he get together with them, their first album come out in the 2000s. Clips come in the
NERD.
2000s.
Yep.
Yep, and then you also gotta take to Chicago. Lupe Fiasco came out in the 2000s.
I
As
meant.
someone
Yep.
had mentioned.
Yep.
Um,
I rock with it.
Kanye.
and then yes, Kanye, and then you gotta remember, Jamie Foxx had a moment. Jamie Foxx dropped 2 albums in the 2000s that was fire.
Yep.
So
he was doing
we got to give Jamie Foxx his love, and then you know what I'm saying, we get people like, I don't know how
American
many
Idol.
people. Yeah, and that's when we get
Hey,
Fantasia.
Yeah, when you talking about, I gotta drop this in with Lupe Fiasco. I kind of put B.O.B. in the same realm. Just because he had a minute with he had a minute there too.
Well,
He had singles with Bruno Mars, and then Bruno Mars came along too.
well, that didn't come to the 2010s though.
Really?
Yes,
Late
B.O.B.
2000?
Yes,
Okay.
B.O.B. Yeah. His first album, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have it in front of me, but it might have been 2012, I think.
Oh my
You might be right.
God! How can we forget? We got Drake.
No, Drake
Oh,
come
you
out.
did.
No, well, this is the thing.
Drake came out in
His what?
2008.
Which one is that? Because from my stuff, it says that his first album didn't come out till 2010.
Nope. So Far Gone was released in 2008. It was re-released in 2010.
Well, yeah, So Far Gone, but a lot of people, well, not a lot of people was on Drake, but from what I had, it had because So Far Gone came out in the beginning of 2010, and then we get
Take Care.
Thank Me Later. Thank Me Later
Oh
came
yeah,
out.
Thank Me Later. Then we
later
get
on.
Take Care.
Yeah. So, like, dude, the 2000s it's really kind of a mixed bag because that really takes us into where we are today. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So this segment is really crazy because when you really think about the music, really become like a mixed bag, and there's just so many different people because now, like you said, we get the Drakes, we get the Kendricks, we get the Coles, we get the Wale's. We get the Rhapsodies. Like there are just so many different people in this era that just comes out. You get the Chance the Rappers, the Childish Gambino, like you mentioned, Casey with the Bruno Mars, ASAP Rocky. Like there's so many different people and so many different kinds of music. You know, rest in peace to Mac Miller. We get Mac Miller.
Yep.
So there's just so many different people. You know, Solange, she finally come out with her solo, with her first album in the 2010 decade. So it's just so many people, and like people like you know, you get the Future, Estelle coming from the UK, G-Eazy. I mean, I know some people probably don't fuck with G-Eazy. I like G-Eazy.
Jeezy, that dude.
You know, yeah, like I always say, to me, I might be alone on this, but like I feel like the way that he raps, he kind of in that 21 Savage bag, and it's like the reason I put him in that 21 Savage bag is because it's like that. To me, both of them rap like kind of slow and it sounds effortless, and it's so crazy how it like. And then now, 21 got a deeper voice, but just a rap style just seems kind of similar because it's kind of slow. It kind of drags a little bit, but I like them. You know, we get the Migos. You know what I'm saying? We get Ray Shrimmer. Like, really,
oh
like,
man, the Migos tore it up, boy.
They tore it up, man. Like the first time I know it was probably like I was kind of late on the Migos, but the first thing I heard from the Migos that really got me on them was "Pipe It Up." But when "Pipe It Up" came out,
oh man,
that shit was
crazy.
so hard.
That shit was
like
crazy.
Pipe it up. Damn, that shit was so hard, man.
Crazy.
It was just so different, man. You know, we get ASAP Rocky, who was from New York, but didn't sound like he was from New York. Like he had that style like he was from Atlanta, because that really became like a popular thing to have that sound. I see you back, Casey. Now, you know, we get Big Crit, Big Sean. There's just so many people. You know what I'm saying? Because you know, Little Dicky, Leon Bridges. This is what I like about Leon Bridges. Leon Bridges is one of those type dudes where he's just like, I don't give a shit. Like, I sound like the 70s. And this is the type of music that I'm going to do. I sound 70s, and this is why I like rocking with. And then, y'all know a guy that means a lot to me, Kid Cudi, comes out in the 2010 decade.
Yep.
So,
Man on the Moon, classic album.
Yes, sir, man. Very classic, man. And then it was so wild how he came out, because the first two songs, because like I said, I got and this I'm gonna tell you why. I got an explanation on why I came on to Cudi late. His first single was Day and Night. So I'm like, all right, you know, that's cool. And then the second single is I Make a Say with your girl
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga. So then that come out, and I'm like, I like.
He
that
had 2
this
joints
first
with Lady Gaga.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, well, this is kind of cool. Then I got the album, and like the album cuts, it's like I was blown away because it was like the B-sides was like my shit. And that's really like a lot of the stuff that I like a lot of the rappers and singers that I like, it don't really be they singles. Like even when I get Drake CDs, I never really rock. I didn't rock with Over. I didn't give a shit about Over. Like when I would
I don't think
listen
anybody
to,
did.
Hey,
like
hey,
when,
that's how it is on records. Like 45s, like 45s, man, the B side is what's happening. You'll
Yep.
find some funky stuff on there.
Yep.
oh yeah. So it was just, and then oh my God, we get Miguel in the 2010 decade. And like Miguel to me came like a whole new different legend, man. We get Schoolboy Q, Ty Dolla $ign. There's just so many different people, man. Jaden Smith comes out with his first album. In his day, well, damn, he was old enough to. He only like damn 20 or some shit. But like, but he can spit though. He's not one of those dudes that's just like in the game because his daddy's famous. Like he really can spit. Like he really can rap. You know, some people don't fuck with him for other shit, but
I can't believe you ain't named your girl yet.
Oh, I mentioned rap. I mentioned rap.
Oh, okay, I'm about to say.
But I didn't get into it. I didn't get into it because it was just it's just so many people, man. And like Frank Ocean, and then I bet you none of y'all, well, Casey, you probably because you don't really get into R&B like that. But like Frank Ocean first song was Thinking About You.
Yep.
And everybody was singing along to that shit. Had no idea he was talking about dude. So
you know why? Do you know why?
Well, he didn't say it really.
Yeah, it's the story. The story out. It wasn't written for him. It was written for Bridget Kelly.
Well, see, I didn't hear that story.
Yeah, it was written for Bridget Kelly, but you know she was up and coming, and so when they had said that they wanted to give it to Bridget Kelly, he was like, "I think this deserves to be with a much larger audience. This song is bigger than you know, having a new artist do it." And so they didn't shop it around the proper way. So he said, "Forget it. He'd do it himself."
Oh yeah, because he's a writer.
Yep.
And like, but he had another song on the album where he actually admits that, you know, that he's bisexual, and he actually, you know, he has a song actually singing about a dude. But the Thinking About You song was his first radio hit, and like everybody sang along.
Novocaine was.
I thought Novocaine wasn't on Channel Orange.
I don't know. I know Novocaine was his first hit though.
Yeah, you're right. It was his first hit, but it wasn't on the Channel Orange, his first album. Because I think Novocaine was just like a single. It wasn't really on the album cut. Yeah. Like, dude, there's so many people, man. You know, we get Daily, we get the baby. Shit, DC Young Fly. I gotta mention DC Young Fly. DC Young Fly he's gonna be, you know what I'm saying, somebody to be reckoned with. But since you brought it up, man, fucking Rhapsody, everybody know how I feel about her. I've done an appreciation episode on her on this podcast. I think that she is, I mean, as far as female rappers, like I said, it's her, and then you can pick on me all you want. Mia X is after her. I know a lot of people love Nicki and all this shit, and Meg Thee Stallion, and all this shit. Fuck it.
Eve.
Man, Rhapsody and Mia X are the two. If you look at the album covers, when you look at them in videos, all this type of shit, they the only two female rappers who ain't really showing you titties and ass. They just give you straight skill. Eve showed them titties, man. She had the footprints on the titties, man.
Nah, but she wasn't as sexual as the other artists though.
She wasn't as sexual, no, not as sexual. Right. But everybody, you telling me in the early 2000s there wasn't no girls getting them damn paw prints on their damn titties because of Eve.
Oh yeah, all of them did that. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. But you're right. Eve could spit, but it was just like, you know, Kim kind of really paved the way for a lot of these girls to be in the game. And a lot of these girls took that route instead of taking the Rhapsody, the Mia X, the MC Light, which we didn't mention. But like they didn't take that route of, and Queen Latifah, she didn't, her Monty Love, like they didn't really sexualize their stuff. And like Rhapsody is a, what I'm saying, a student from their school. And that's what I really love about her the most. I've already told the story a couple of times of me and Casey going to that concert, so I won't get into that. But the 2010 decade, man, even when it comes to a guy like Nick Jonas, I rock with Nick Jonas, man.
Nick Jonas, he killed that shit, man. He got
Yeah,
a great solo career.
Oh yeah, him. I didn't even know Mac Wiles was a singer.
Yep.
Until I heard Late Night, what was it? Late Night something. I forget what the album was called. But that shit was fire. And,
yeah, Mac Wiles is a beast, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure. But man, I'm doing too much talking. What y'all guys got, man, on the 2010 decade, man?
You can go ahead, Scoots.
Okay. For me, man, 2010 is really I ain't really got a lot. I just want to just say really it's just the prominence for female hip hop. You got Nicki, you get Cardi, you get Meg, you get a whole bunch of dolls. You get rap, which I really don't put rap in female hip hop. I put her amongst the dudes, cause she too raw for the stuff they be talking about. But it's really just the prominence of female hip hop. You know what I'm saying? You start to see all of these new female hip hop artists pop out, like Doja Cat and so many others, and you start to see them really like kind of take over the game. I know, you know what I'm saying, you still got guys like Lil Baby, The Baby, um, Rod Wave, and all these other guys who really, they hold their own, but it's really like I think the 2010s has really been a time for female hip hop. We've never seen this many successful female hip hop artists, and we never seen them in the limelight the way that they've been in. And I mean, that's just pretty much all I got for the 2010s.
All right, cool. Yeah, y'all forgot about RTJ. I just turned Sean on to that though. Have you heard him, Scoots? What you think?
Only reason I don't count Run the Jewels is because Killer Mike, I count him in the 2000s, and LP was before that. So, I mean, if you as a group, yeah, but like just like as far as artist wise, I try not to count them.
All right, I definitely get that because yeah, I rock with Killer Mike. He was solo and with Outkast, and
Yep.
I didn't really. I knew there was some things that crossed paths with LP.
Yeah.
With Company Flow, and because he was in that whole underground thing. People don't know
Yep.
how much of an influence he had on that whole thing. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
man, definitely rock with them. All the T.I. stuff that came out in the early, Big Boy still had a few albums in the 2010s.
Yep.
He worked with Phantogram, and that was a new sound. So he's still breaking the mold and going different directions, even now. You got I was still even in the early 2010s, still even now still I still look into the electronic music. I still keep up what's going on United Kingdom. I listen to this radio station called 88.7 WNCNW. They out of Spindale, North Carolina, and they always bringing in music from all over the world. So some stuff that came out was this album called the Bamako Sound, where they were electrifying native African instruments. So that's a crazy sound. Songhoi Blues is a similar thing. They got kind of like almost like a electric blues revival in some of these other countries over there. So there's a lot of Tanari Wind. So those are some groups that are coming out from that area. Let's see. I was looking into. Let's see where else. So like I usually jump around the world a lot. I listen to. I did dig some of the Migos stuff. Didn't even really know anything about Kid Cudi till Sean turned me on to that, and then I felt like, Kanye was such a big influence on him, and then he is such a big influence on all of these younger
That's a
rappers
fact.
with the
That's a
with
fact.
the uh with the sound. And I didn't even pick up on it until I listened to this Man on the Moon 3. And I was like, you know what? This has got such a, it kept reminding me of 808s and Heartbreak. And this it's some similar scales. I'm hearing some of the same keys in there, some of the same vibes, but Cudi pulls it off even better than Kanye did on that. But the
Mm-hmm.
way that Kanye did that with the auto tune, everybody is chasing that. You know, like a lot of people don't they may not like that album the most, but that 808s and Heartbreak sound with the auto tune, I think that had a big impression on Cudi. And then Cudi influenced a lot of this new style rapping. Not necessarily like the mumble rapping, but the some of the attitudes and some of the, like, I don't know, you want to call it emotional rapping or there's different subgenres, but where the rappers are really getting personal and getting deeper about their feelings and stuff. I mean, I know Drake had some of that too, but I kind of look at Cudi with the sound that he has, that darker sound. It sounds like you getting more interpersonal, getting on a deeper level. And I think definitely Drake too. There's a really strong mix of, in the 2010s, everybody still chasing Drake, still chasing the feel of that auto tune. So a lot of Future stuff. I definitely rock with Future. One of my
Hey,
songs Deserve It.
I hate to cut you off. But before you go into another artist, so I'm taking me and my son, we riding. And and I told y'all, me and my son Jacoby, we be having these jam sessions. So we're listening to Kid Cudi, right? Man on the Moon 3. And we're listening to the song Dive. And Jacoby's sitting there and he got this curious look on his face. And I'm like, he's like, Dad, who is that? He was like, that's Kid Cudi, right? I'm like, yeah. And he was like, what song is that? So I pulled the phone over and I showed him. He was like, Dad, why he sound like that? I'm like, what you talking about? He said, why does he sound like an African in this song?
Hey,
Boy, I thought I was gonna die, boy. I'm about to run off the road, boy. It was so fucking funny. But I just had to mention that story, man. That just happened like the other day, man. It happened last week. He said that shit was so funny.
did he get into where he was drawing the parallel from?
Nah, this is the thing, like he likes a lot of stuff I listen to, but he also like his own person. Like he like a lot of these young rappers. You know what I'm saying? He like a lot of these SoundCloud rappers. Like he's big into like Triple X, XXXTentacion.
Great,
Like he's big into
great
him.
artist.
He like Pop Smoke. He's real big into Pop Smoke. He like that Pop Smoke song that's on that Kid Cudi album.
Yeah.
So he really, how a lot of people tell you how the kids would, like, when you start to get older, they introduce you to new music.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's gonna be like that for me, because he be listening to these SoundCloud rappers and he be liking that stuff. Now don't get me wrong, he'll still like listening to stuff that I listen to, but sometimes he'll have his own headphones on. He'll be listening to these people on SoundCloud, so he might be bringing me. He might introduce me to some new artists.
Yeah, he's looking for that new sound.
Yeah, for sure. And look, he 11.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's wild. It's wild. But
he's getting that ear already.
Oh yeah, for sure. But I just had to throw that in there. You can finish your point. I'm sorry.
No, I'm back. I'm done. I was just like I said, I stay I still come back to my staples. I come back to raw hip hop and different Talib Kweli came out with an album not too long ago, and I went and seen him in Immortal Technique. If y'all don't know who Immortal Technique is, you need to check.
Immortal Technique is a legend.
Yes, definitely. So so I'm just all over the place. I'm searching for new music, and I can't really remember all that. I wish I would have done a little bit more research on maybe trying to bring some new stuff that maybe some people hadn't heard of. But yeah, okay, go ahead.
Now you are good. Just some other people I didn't mention as far as like R&B, man. Like I didn't mention Anderson .Paak. I love Anderson .Paak, man. Bryson Tiller, Devin Terrell. I didn't mention Devin Terrell. Janae Aiko. I don't know how I didn't mention her. Her, you know what I'm saying? Her is becoming like one of my favorite artists.
Yeah, we didn't mention Janelle Monáe either.
Oh man, right.
Yeah, Janelle Monáe, Marsha Ambrosius, you know what I'm saying? When she left Floetry, she came out with her first album, Late Nights, Early Mornings. Melanie Fiona, she came out with joint. She from her and Drake used to be in the group back in Canada. Until both of them went solo. Party Next Door, Keisha Cole, Party Next Door, The Weeknd, Ty Dolla $ign, Tiana Taylor. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get into them. And also, as far as on the rap side, I didn't mention Nipsey Hussle. I didn't mention Russ.
Yeah, we didn't. You said Kendrick, but we didn't get into him.
Yeah, we didn't really get into him. Logic, like the thing with Logic, he started hot for me, then it kind of fell off. I like his first 3 joints, but then it kind of fell off after that. Freddie Gibbs, I didn't get into Freddie till late. But this last album, it was #1 on my top 10 albums of the year. This Alfredo, I think the Alchemist had a lot to do with that for me, because everybody know how much I love the Alchemist. Young Dro, you know what I'm saying? Wiz Khalifa, Vince Mensa. Yeah, there's a lot of people, man. But at the end of the day, I like a lot of people on here in the 2000s, but for me, it's still the podcast that we did before. A lot of that is the music that really shaped me today. You know what I'm saying? When we did the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And you can hear a lot of that music. And all these people that we really mentioned in the 2010, all of them pulling from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. All of them.
That's a fact.
Yeah, and that's one of my problems. I mean, it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing too, because you constantly listening. It's like you listening to new music so hard that you picking it apart rather than trying to enjoy it. That's what I get caught up in. I'm like, oh, that came from that. Oh, did you know that's really a play off of the sample that's in this? It's like this, and there's so much. There's a lot of name dropping, and that's what kind of came off with Logic. I mean, it was cool. We did some collaboration, but it's like, that's like so much of his stuff was that. So, it was all right. He had skill, but and a lot of people do that. They feed off some of the other formulas, but there's a lot of fresh talent too. So I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna try to make it a point to start listening to music more for what it is instead of trying to compare it to what I want it to be.
I feel you. You got any last things, Scoots, man, before we get into closing this thing out? Anything you want to mention?
Actually, you know what I'm saying? This is, I think, from what we had in the 2010s, man, we got a lot of different new sounds. We got a lot of different artists. We had actually a lot of blending of sounds. This is the kind of the step up from what we had with Bone Thugs and Harmony with the melodic rap. Now that's super prominent right now. That's the thing. I'm actually anxious just to see where it goes from here. You know what I'm saying? What they will create next. Because right now, I think that music is in a great space. I think that with the business aspect of music, it's in an even better space, because now you're starting to see some artists being able to take themselves and become independent. You're starting to hear about how some artists are actually getting their masters. It's a lot of questions going on with streaming and how that stuff kind of works. But I think that with these next coming years, I think they'll end up finding that out and fixing that problem. But for right now, man, like I said, I think music is in a great space, and I think that these artists, they're really going to take over and make a huge change with these next coming years.
Cool. that made me think of something. Talking about looking forward to the new sound. They got new technology too. There's a lot of new technologies that's coming out to keep up with all the music equipment and different software and different things like that. And they actually coming up with new ways, which I gotta give a shout out to myself. Like I came up with this. I know I ain't the only one, but I came with this like 12 years ago, where I was like, surely there's a way to where we can just connect the internet and we can live jam with people, kind of like this, but also where you looking into where you also have access to each other's computers and you can uh do like jam sessions from with people all around the world. So like
Yeah,
there's people touched on that and stuff, but they actually trying to make it specific for musicians to jam together. So you are going to have a lot more of people opening up to different people around the world, the way they jam and make music. And one of those is called Endless, and it's anybody can do it. You can do it on your phone now, or you can do it on your computer, where you can tap into live jams, and you can like play your part in there, and then just make a ever going composition. So if anybody listening and they want to get involved with jamming with people from around the world, go to Endless with 3 S's on the end.
All right, cool. Thanks for putting that out there, man. Like, also, man, like before we get out of here, like I always gotta say, man, like starting as far as podcasting, man, I'm entering my 4th year in the podcasting. In 2021, and like to be able to start this thing by myself, and then to be able to say like, yo, like I got an actual team now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really appreciate y'all, man, for putting the faith in me, man. Like, it really started out the very beginning, man. Like, Casey, you was the very first person, you know what I'm saying, that I even mentioned that I even had a podcast. You know what I'm saying? And you jumped in head first, like, yo, it'd be cool if you have some intro music. I do music. You know what I'm saying? You could use my stuff from SoundCloud, all this type stuff. And then, you know what I'm saying, coming into around episode 20 or so, I meet Scoots. Well, meet him via Instagram. But then we ended up meeting in person 2 years ago. So, you know what I'm saying, to be able for us to, you know what I'm saying, to all be collaborating at some point, and you two guys to meet each other, and, you know what I'm saying, y'all are networking and y'all have some things to happen. So I just want to say, man, I appreciate y'all for, from starting this podcast, by myself, and then bringing in Uncle Washington and Casey, you jumping on, and Scoots, you jumping on, till we get our own venture as far as the Viewers Anonymous. So I just want to say that, man, because like, Casey, you've been telling me ever since before this year even started. You know what I'm saying? You was like, yo, we taking everything to a different level this year. You know what I'm saying? And you can't do that without a good team of people that believe in you and you believe in them. I believe in y'all, and I appreciate y'all.
Right on, same here. Let's just keep it going. We'll build off the positive, keep reinforcing each other, because we know it's good to know that if nobody else is giving you positive feedback, we all got each other to fall back on. That's a good feeling.
yeah, man. You can't do nothing without a team, man. As long as everybody, control their own situations and make sure we all, keeping each other held up. And make sure we all, like Casey said, man, giving each other that positive reinforcement, and then just keep speaking it into existence, man. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no way we can't manifest it ourselves. So for sure, bro.
Yes, sir, man. So, Scoots, what are you got the plug, man?
Oh man, you can check me out on Twitter at ScootzBronsen. You can check me out on Instagram, ScootzBronsen underscore TV. Check me out on YouTube. You can watch, all my videos, including actually the Viewers Anonymous podcast on ScootzBronsen TV. Check me out on 15 Minutes of Fame. I just did an interview with a young lady named Jasmine Soto. She runs an organization. Well, she runs a nonprofit called Organizations Helping the World. She's out here trying to do some good amongst all of this nonsense that we got going on right now. Next episode of Viewers Anonymous is dropping soon. We just did 2 episodes with the homie Jamar. We back with the visuals. I can't wait. You know what I'm saying? Go to VA Pod Watch Group on Facebook. Make sure y'all put yourselves on that. Other than that, man, I'm just, you know what I'm saying, glad to be doing this thing. Thanks again, bro.
No problem. Hey, Casey, shout out that SoundCloud that you've been telling me about.
Oh, it's Fry Top Rail Miner. FRYETOP is the first word. Rail Miner is the second word. It's RAILMINER. I got a lot of improvement to make, and I plan on doing that this year.
All right, that's what's up, man. For sure, for sure. And man, just go to the Stolen Time Podcast, man. That's all major platforms for that podcast. Also, the Stolen Time Podcast page on Facebook, the Stolen Time Pod on Instagram, and S.Foster8 on Instagram. And it's same thing for Twitter, S.Foster8. And you can find 28 minutes or less on all major platforms as well. Also, visual will be out there on YouTube. And I post everything on YouTube. That's the Stolen Time Podcast Network. That is the YouTube for this. That's where you can get the visuals, or you can listen to the audio version. This was episode 32 of the 28 Minutes or Less podcast, and we out.